U.S. lawmakers have been looking with concern at the framework nuclear deal the U.S. and 5 other world powers negotiated with Iran. Congress has pushed for power to review a final deal and for President Obama to certify regularly that Iran is living up to it.
The framework agreement has created a political firestorm here in Washington, and with a front row seat to all the twists and turns as they happened, VOA Senate correspondent Michael Bowman. Take a look.
A clearly pleased President Obama strode into the Rose Garden to announce that a goal sought by America for decades could be at hand if a final accord is hammered out.
This framework would cut off every pathway that Iran could take to develop a nuclear weapon.
So, Michael, you were at the White House when this framework accord was announced in Switzerland. What was that like?
Well, it was an exciting day. We knew that President Obama had a trip planned that day. He was going to go to Kentucky. And normally the White House operates like clockwork. When the president is ready to go, there's an announcement made and the pool reporters get going. On that day, we knew that the president was supposed to leave at 11 in the morning. 11 came and there was no announcement of departure. In the meantime, we are all watching the television screens to see what's happening in Switzerland. And we didn't know if the deal was going to come together that day, if it was going to come together at all, if they were going to extend for yet another day. Meanwhile, you had the entire White House press corps furiously trying to figure out what was happening, asking every official that they could get their hands on, and no one was speaking. And whenever there's White House silence,
you know something's happening.
You know something's happening.
Yeah.
And indeed, something was happening. And I was able to go out into the Rose Garden for President Obama's announcement. He hailed the accord, and he immediately launched into a campaign to try to sell it, not just to the American people, but to a fairly skeptical Republican-led Congress.
In a statement, House Speaker John Boehner said, quote, "Congress must be allowed to fully review the details of any agreement before any sanctions are lifted."
Clearly the mood at the White House, very positive. But you have Congress, and that is your beat, Congress. And we know lawmakers have been expressing opposition to a deal with Iran. What is their central concern?
Lawmakers of both parties are deeply distrustful of Iran, and that is something that goes back decades. Among Democrats, I would say that the attitude ranges from hopeful to skeptical. Among Republicans, it's from skeptical to scornful. The meeting point for both parties is skepticism, and there is a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to Iran's motives, whether Iran can be trusted. And so what you see from many lawmakers of both parties is a wait-and-see attitude. They're not ruling out that diplomacy can work, but they really want to see if there is a final deal, what it contains, and just what kind of assurances there are. For Republicans, this is especially tough. Of course, there is mistrust of Iran, but Republicans, almost down to their DNA, don't trust President Obama. So from the Republican perspective, any deal where you have Iran and President Obama agreeing to something, from the Republican perspective, has to be sketchy in their mind.
And what's the timeline on this? I mean, we don't have much time here.
No, the deadline for a final accord is in June, and Congress is going to be moving very quickly on this.
And as a reporter familiar with how these things tend to play out, what are you expecting to see?
For right now, it is all unknown. Iran is saying that it wants all sanctions not just lifted, but eliminated from the moment the accord goes into effect. That's a non-starter for the Obama administration and for members of Congress. We don't know if there's going to be a final deal. And if there is a final deal, we have no idea whether Congress is going to assert itself in a way that the administration doesn't want. What if Congress votes to disapprove the deal? What does that mean? We don't know.
We don't know, but we'll all be watching, that is for sure. Thanks to Michael Bowman, our Senate correspondent.